All right. Hello, everyone. How you doing? Another episode of Gonna See My Friends podcast where we just kick back, we talk about movies, and maybe argue, maybe agree. Mostly agree. I don't think we've ever argued about a movie here. Probably a close one was Silver Bullet. But anyways, we're here. We're here to enjoy ourselves. We're here to kind of just reminisce, and reminisce we will on this one because this week we got Stand By Me. Rob Reiner film, I should say. And yeah, an 80s film, great cast, great movie based off of The Body, a short story by Stephen King. And I don't know, we were kind of riffing beforehand before we got started here pre-show, and we were kind of riffing on the the nostalgicness of this movie and how it kind of moved us this week. Toby, you want to elaborate on what you were saying? Because I thought it was interesting.
Good day
Yeah.
and happy
Oh
Labor
yeah.
Day weekend
Hey,
to
what's up,
you.
Toby? That's what
Hi. Hi, Stephen. Hi, everybody.
that's what happens when I go off the cuff.
Yeah, you had to be here for the pre-show. This was nostalgia is a really good way of putting it. This really, I hadn't seen it in probably 20 some years, but like you mentioned, it's Stephen King's The Body, which I read several times. I read the book as a teenager, as probably the same age as our heroes, the four boys. And I grew up a Stephen King fan. So when it comes to, and Rob Reiner couldn't have been a better person to direct this film. I mean, before that, he didn't have a huge, he'd done Spinal Tap. This is Spinal Tap. And then he had done, before this, he did The Sure Thing with
Oh yeah.
John Cusack, which was prior to Stand By Me. The title of the movie was not going to be Stand By. They didn't have a title for it as they were filming it. And they came up with the title Stand By Me because um I believe it was Kiefer Sutherland that was teaching the boys how to play guitar in the evening, and he was teaching them how to play Stand By Me.
Wow. I didn't know that.
That's what I've read in all the
Yeah.
newspapers.
Yeah.
But it's a Labor Day movie, and when you threw out some options a couple weeks ago, what should we do for Saturday of Labor Day weekend? And one of the options you put down was Stand By Me, and I don't think you realized it was a Labor Day movie. It's always been a Labor Day movie to me.
Oh wow.
And why is that important to me? I see Labor Day as kind of like like a second New Year's. It's
Yeah.
the end of the summer. You're about to go into school. These kids are about to go into school. Nowadays, the school year is so different where they've been in school for 3 weeks. But we used to go
Yeah.
when we were young, I
Yeah.
don't know, right after Labor Day.
Hmm.
And so
Yeah.
this was like the last hurrah of the summer. And I've always wondered why it is that Labor Day is important to me. And I don't know that maybe Stand By Me is one of those catalysts of that in the back of my mind, but I've always seen it as kind of like it's a new beginning.
Yeah. Definitely. It was interesting too because we were both talking about before we came on the camera here, not only the kind of way this kind of draws us back to our own childhood, but also the things that have kind of crept up on us. Like I was just telling you about how some high school friends of mine kind of reached out to me last night, and I don't know if you want to tell them your thing about it, but we seem to have it. Just seems to kind of the emotionalness that we had. Talk a little bit about that and this week for you when you were watching the movie.
Absolutely. So a few weeks back, my childhood friends went to kindergarten with these guys. They hit me up and said, "Hey, we're thinking about getting together on Saturday of Labor Day weekend. We all happen to be in town. Not everybody lives around here anymore. We are, you and I, you grew up in Sacramento, but you moved to Healdsburg when you were what, 12, right
Well,
around the
I
time.
grew up in Healdsburg till I was 5, and then I went to Sacramento, and then I came back. So I came back at noon at 12.
Was it at noon when you were 12? You remember it like it was yesterday.
Yes, exactly.
So, and Healdsburg, I grew up in Forestville. It's a really small town. The movie is set in Castle Rock. He changed it to Castle Rock, Oregon. It's set in Castle Rock, Maine, like almost all of Stephen King's stories at that time. And so, being a 12-year-old boy with a handful of friends in a small town, this hits real close to home for me.
Yeah.
It always has. And they go out on an adventure. And this is the question is, do you want to go see a dead body? I pose that question to you. Do you want to go see a dead body?
Not at this age, no. But I think
Okay.
as a kid, I would probably have been like, "Yeah, let's do it," because I
Right.
think that's what kids do. But yeah, I mean, I think for me, the reason why I was so emotional this week watching it, not only
Hmm.
does it is it just a kind of an emotional film because it takes you back to your childhood, but for me, the last kind of couple of months, I've been in this really, I wouldn't say funk, but it's more of this kind of I don't know, like an awakening of sorts
How about that?
of watching, my loved ones get older
Yeah.
and kind of realizing that, oh my God, like I'm not a child anymore. Even though inside you kind of feel like, I mean, I feel like I'm still like 30 years old, 27, 30, whatever. And I started to realize, I have some family issue or some people in my family like getting older as well, and getting to that point where they're no longer able to kind of live on their own. And I used to see these people as giants, because they were the
Right.
ones that took care of you when you were a kid or you hung out with them. They're your cousin's dad or whatever it was. And a lot of these people are getting older, and
Yeah.
you start to understand that, or at least my takeaway from that was that, oh my God, like that's where we're all headed. And yeah, some people might work out a lot to kind of delay that a bit, but sooner or later we're all going to be there. And it just turned something on in me, where
Yeah.
I'm like, I gotta go, like not necessarily, I was never one to kind of, let's go, in terms of like being driven by a career or something like that, but more so of, I got to start doing the things I've always wanted to do, because I'm picturing myself now at 80 years old and going, oh man, I wish when I was 50, I wish I would have done that thing. And so now I'm starting to do all those things again. And watching this movie, 5 years ago, I would have been just depressed, or, because this thing kind of just draws you back. And I used to be really nostalgic about everything, and the idea that I couldn't go back there just kind of bummed me out. But now it's like, all right, well, this is it, I'm going, and so at risk of being too philosophical here, it's just I'm really raring to go. And that's why I love this movie kind of hit me at the right time and made me kind of realize a lot of things, and the things I'm going through, things I want, where I want to be. I mean, does that hit you at all? Does that make sense, Toby? Or
You couldn't have put it any better. There's something, and you've said with the last couple of months, there's been something nagging at me, right? And same with you. You're going through it too. You're faced with your own mortality, the mortality of your parents.
yeah, yeah.
Parents are a big deal in Stand By Me. Again, you and Scott, I was listening to the ET
Oh,
podcast
nice. Yeah,
last night,
yeah,
and yeah, I think it was you that mentioned like like this movie, and we've done some others like this. The parents and the adults are kind of non-existent.
mm,
It's the in this case, it's 12-year-old boys who are really finding out that those the adults might be full of shit,
yeah,
and it's a tough pill to swallow. And they've never, in this case, do you want to go see a dead body? The dead body is the MacGuffin for
yeah,
the movie,
yeah, yeah,
and
yeah,
it's kind of it doesn't have to be. They could go to see anything.
yeah,
The point was to, I mean, it is a big facing your own mortality. They go and they see a kid that's a couple years older than them. They've never seen anything like this, and they've never been faced with the reality, like you said, that this is where we're all going.
yeah,
It might be on the side of the train track. It might be when you're 90 in a convalescent hospital. You don't know. And these are thoughts when, to me, there's always that 12-year-old boy is still a part of me. And you learn so much during this. All four of these boys learn so much about it. They learn that the bullies are full of shit. They learn that the parents will lie to you. The authority figures that you thought that you were supposed to put up on this pedestal they're just human beings too. It's it's a lot.
Yeah.
It's a lot when you just take a deep breath, I mean, and just openly weep about it if you have to. These boys this is back when you really didn't want to cry in front of your friends because, oh boy, you're going to hear about it. And this was, they all go through it. I'm not sure that, oh no, that all four of them do cry, right? Vern cries on the train tracks. So yeah, they're all faced with their mortality. Um, it's 1986 is when this comes out, and um, it's set in 1959.
Mhm.
If you, I didn't do the math, but I'm assuming that what is that 20
That's like
something years? Like if it was set today in 2025,
it'd
you'd be
be like
like
28 years or
back in
something.
2001,
Yeah,
and you'd be
yeah.
like, oh my God. I mean, we all had cell phones, and there was email, and
Yeah, it's back to a simpler time, right? And
absolutely
to your point about the adults in this film, even when the adults are in a scene with them, there's a sort of disconnect. They're not
huge
really, yeah,
disconnect.
they're not really, there's that chasm between being youthful and being an adult. And what obviously more to that point is that what was I gonna say? Jeez, old man brain. Boop,
Yep.
off the track. Disconnect.
Yeah, you're faced with your own mortality right there. You're just like,
Yeah,
where was it? The
and this was
words
a
were
time before. This was a time before, like he kind of says in the movie, Wil Wheaton's character. Jeez, forget it. Anyways,
40.
Gordy says this is the time right before puberty and girls start coming into the equation. So you have that because there's being a kid in phases, right? You're learning how to walk, talk, do all that stuff, and then you're learning how to socialize, and then you're learning how to make friends and keep friends, and then you learn about girls, and then it goes into
Hmm.
steps like that. And this movie, I feel like, kind of captures that right before you start getting into girls and start, everything becomes girls, and it's just
Which
a
are non-existent in this movie, by the way.
yeah, exactly, yeah, 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 and but but I think it doesn't really make it a boys movie. Is that we? I think somebody was just saying that. I can't remember, but or it was
Well,
an
I mean,
article that I
it's
read. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
okay.
And just because it's all boys doesn't mean it's not a girls movie. Well, whatever. I wasn't going to say anything about that. But anyways, yeah, this one it kind of just takes. I don't know. It's just that little age. I remember it so well. Like probably for me, it was like 12, 13, and then
That's
boom.
that's this. You're about to
Yeah,
I mean, it's all the things. It's the coming of age. It's the end of the innocence. It's facing your own mortality. It's realizing that I get to make my own decisions. I picked these friends,
yeah,
and dad doesn't like them. I'm stuck with dad. He's my
yeah,
dad.
yeah,
I'm stuck with, I mean, the family members of these four boys are do their biggest cheerleaders.
yeah,
Their biggest cheerleaders are the guys that they chose to be with. And
yeah,
you don't realize that at the time. How important those, I mean, smash cut to the very end. I never had friends like I had when I was 12,
yeah,
and I never had before or
yeah,
since.
yeah,
And again, I think watching this for the first time in 20 years, and I texted you, I'm like, I didn't realize I was going to be crying three times midday on a Thursday,
uh,
but here we are.
yeah,
And I mean, there were things that I had um, never really uh, cared about before that really hit me hard. The deer scene.
mm,
I never got that. I've seen this movie 50 times. I never really got it, but there he is, and they make eye contact with each other. We're jumping way ahead, of course, but it was just, I'm like, what? They're hungry and they could have killed this deer and eaten it. I was like, what is that? I wasn't sure. It meant something completely different to me this time. I mean,
that's cool.
yeah, I mean, holy man, I had to pause it, and I was just sitting here, just like the chest is tightening up, and my God, dude, this movie is so good.
Yeah, it's one of Reiner's, I think, best. And you said it when we started. You said it. It's so glad. I'm so glad that Rob Reiner did this movie because it was just
Yeah.
so. I don't know. It's just in his wheelhouse, I suppose. But with that, let's just kind of jump into the movie. I know we kind of waxed nostalgic on whatever, but
Oh man,
yeah.
feeling it again, man. Yeah, yeah. Let's get into it.
Do you have any facts on this, or do
I
you have
have some deets.
deets?
Yes, indeed. Yes, I have some deets. Released on August 10th, 1986. It's rated R. It's 1 hour and 29 minutes. As we said, directed by the great Rob Reiner. Prior to that, he had done Sure Thing and This Is Spinal Tap. This is Spinal Tap, maybe one of the funniest pound for pound movies of all time. People still quote it to this day.
Yeah.
After Stand By Me, he'll go on and do The Princess Bride, When Harry Met Sally, Misery, another Stephen King movie, and maybe one of my all-time favorite movies, A Few Good Men.
Yeah.
Get Out of Town.
We got to get to that one. Yeah, definitely, man.
Holy cow. So everyone in that is so good. Okay, jumping ahead. We have Wil Wheaton, as Stewie Griffin would say. We have the late great River Phoenix, and watching him in this and knowing that he is so like Chris Chambers and his
Yeah.
path takes him, it's eerie. You have Corey Feldman, and you have Jerry O'Connell, who this is his first movie he's ever acted in. He's kind of the, hey, Mo,
Sincerely.
sincerely. What, I'm supposed to think of everything? I brought the comb. Kiefer Sutherland is Ace Merrill,
Hmm.
who is the bully and he's the heavy, if you will. Casey Simasko, which I didn't realize that Casey Simasko from Young Guns, of
Hmm.
course,
Yeah.
played Charlie in, and you got Gary Riley, Marshall Bell as Gordy LaChance's dad plays this gloomy, walking embodiment of sadness that is so heavy and
Yeah.
good Lord. Our narrator is Richard Dreyfuss,
Yeah.
who is, we're assuming Gordy. It's kind of, he's his, in the credits he's listed as the writer.
The writer. Yeah.
Yeah. Isn't it supposed to be Gordy reflecting? I mean, the opening shot is he's looking at a newspaper. He's parked on the side of the road and he's just reading a newspaper. That the date on the newspaper was, I wrote this down because I had to look it up.
Uh
I'd
huh.
seen it so many times and I had to look it up. So he's the newspaper is dated September 4th, 1986.
Okay.
Okay. The day they go out, he starts writing the story, finally tells the story. He'd never written about it before or since. That takes place on Labor Day weekend, 1959. They leave on a Friday, which was September 4th, 1959. And I went,
Wow.
how much you want to bet? I'm sitting there, clickety click. That was not a
Damn.
mistake. Rob Reiner, these little things that Rob
Yeah.
Reiner does is so good. Uh,
During the oh, go ahead. Go ahead. Sorry.
no, that was, yeah, please.
Well, during the whole time I've ever watched this movie, and I've watched this movie thousands of times, it's like I've never put that together. Never put that
Well, you're
together.
reading the headline, right? He
Yeah.
finds out
You read
attorney
the headline, but yeah.
Christopher Chambers killed in a McDonald's, and this has got him all messed up, and he's just sitting there, just like, oh my God, like the day came. Now Chris is dead,
Yeah.
and he goes back to that time that they go to see the dead body, and these kids ride by on their bikes, and he's having one of those moments like you and I've had for the last couple of months where like something's going on.
All right. What's going on
What's
here?
going on here? And the dots are connecting. It's trippy.
Well, I think
It's
yeah, go ahead. Go
Go
ahead.
ahead.
No. Cuz I have a long diatribe about death and all that.
Please do. That's
Well,
that's where I was going with that.
well, I mean, it hits hard because like I said, this last couple months has just been kind of it's just been kind of weird. And so I looked up some people that I went to elementary school with, so this is in
Wow.
Sacramento. And I found out that one of them, Scott Martinson, which shout out RIP, man,
Oh
from
no.
Sacramento, California, passed away at
Mm,
17. And then one of my favorite teachers, Mr. Clevin, who forever in my mind will stay, however old he was when I used to know him, passed away at the age of like I think 79 or something like that, and probably in 2017 or 2019 as well. And these are two people that I hadn't talked to since probably 86.
yeah.
And although I did see my Mr. Clevin, my teacher, I saw him a couple years after that. But they're gone, and it just hits you in a different way because it's not necessarily somebody that was really close, but yet it hit me just as much. And this idea that we're kind of in that process anyways. Yeah, it just kind of gets you. It just makes you feel weird. I don't know. I don't want to bog this down on this whole death thing about this movie, but it just really gets you going. Or at least, for me, it really kind of, finally after all these years, kind of lit a fire up my butt. Or
I
not
think
up
it's
it, but
also an acknowledgement. Thank you for sharing that. I'm sorry to hear that
oh yeah,
they're no longer with us. But it was at that moment, maybe, that you realize just how important those people that might have been kind of peripheral, they came in and out
yeah,
like busboys in a restaurant,
yes,
that really helped make you who you are today.
right,
And that's what Gordy's going through, the writer, as he's sitting on the side of the road. And he's just looking back on that and going, I hadn't talked to him in 10 years, and here he is, died and trying to break up a fight in a fast food restaurant with a knife. That's not the way he's supposed to go.
yeah, yeah,
And just how important and the impact that these friends of his, and it makes you think about people like that. You had people reach out to you just yesterday.
yeah,
Hey, we're just talking about you. You're like, what in
yeah,
the, how does that happen?
yeah, you know. And this I for me, it's always this thing for this movie at least is like it like we're kind of talking about pre-show was this idea that this kind of takes you back to those times. It's that weird dichotomy between like this is set in 59, but yet for me this is like 86. I was around the same age,
Hmm?
85, 86, but yet it's still so relatable in a lot of ways because I think childhood is there's a universal truth about being a kid and growing up in those years that we all
That's
go
right.
through. You know, our lives are a bit more kind of structured. Not structured, but it's you didn't have to worry about so much stuff. You knew that okay, we have summer. After summer, I go back to school. After school, I come home. I eat. I do whatever I do. It just repeats day in day out. And I think
Yeah.
for so long when we're kids, we're trying to fight that. We don't want that anymore. We want to do what we want to do and this and that. And I think for me, when I graduated, I still was like, even though I didn't know it at the time, for me, I think it was, oh, I needed that. I needed that structure because without it, I didn't know what to do. And for so long, anyways, yeah, I can wax on about all that kind of stuff. But
You don't want to lose that childlike wonder, and you miss that part of you that is that boy that can just get on your bike and ride all day long around town, go
yeah,
and do whatever you want, and get home when the streetlights come on. That was the structure of summer
yeah.
in a small town
Well, that's
for
what
me.
me and Scott were talking about that on the ET pod was this idea that you got up and you during the summer at least you got up and then you just left and your
Yeah.
parents were like good riddance or at least my parents or grandparents or whatever. It's like go play
Yes.
or whatever it was
Hmm.
and you kind of had that freedom to kind of take that 8-mile bike ride and being like Jesus, we biked all the way to San Francisco and back when in reality it was just you just biked all around town all day.
Yeah, in
And
jeans.
yeah, exactly. And so it was this thing of freedom, and I think that's what this movie captures so well is that freedom you have a kid, especially in broken homes. I come from a
Yeah.
broken home and it this idea that it's not necessarily about the adventure part of it, even though that's what it becomes. It's just about getting out, and these kids all have this clubhouse where they all meet, and they could be
That's right.
kids without getting yelled at, and you see the effects of their parenting on them, right? So you can kind of see that, Gordy's is neglected at home emotionally and physically. Uh, and he's kind of the outsider. He's not really, effusive, and he's not, or he can be at times, through his storytelling. But Chris is he's the guy that has a little bit of compassion in him and empathy, and with each character you kind of see the problems at home. And man, that's why I love this movie too, because it was a chance to kind of just yeah, I understand where these characters are at, and I understand what they want. They want to read and they want to kind of, you know, the, at the same time they're trying to grow up so fast by drinking and shooting guns and all this kind of other stuff.
Smoking
And
cigs,
yeah, yeah,
and
yeah, yeah, smoking cigarettes.
they got playboys, and
Yeah, yeah.
they're
And they're
playing
talking about,
cards, and
yeah, the
they're
Mickey Mouse Club.
busting balls, and the whole thing. And you're right. And you see, it's written from such a point of, you believe that Stephen King must have had this group of friends. And so I'm like, did he and have a buddy that, and the answer to all that is yes.
Yeah,
He did have a buddy who was kind of more of the cool guy of the bunch, and he was a smart one.
yeah,
And he knew that he had this gift where he could write, but he wanted to be with the knuckleheads.
right.
And the biggest cheerleader, and Stephen King does this so well. He does this with, I mean, there's a new movie coming out, The Long Walk, I
Yeah,
think is about to hit theaters. This is another one where it's a bunch of boys, and it's in The Long Walk is told in the third person point of view. This is told in the first person. But one of the things that Stephen King has this amazing ability to do is you're following who you think is the main character, but almost always your favorite character is that main character's best friend.
yeah, yeah.
Chris is the most interesting character in the group. In The Long Walk, you have Garrity, who's McRise. I'm
Oh,
sorry, I haven't read. Have you read? Have you read the law? Okay,
no. Scott read it. Scott has written it or read it. Yeah, he's psyched about
love
it.
it. I
Yeah.
love it. I read it so many times.
Is it a short
Um,
story? Or is it a whole book?
it it's like the body. It's a novella.
Okay.
It's considered a
All right.
novella. Yeah, so around 200 pages. But the main character's friend is the one you connect with
Uh-huh.
more. He's
Yeah.
the things that character is saying. Red in Shawshank Redemption, you're kind of more drawn to Red. The list goes on and on. He does this so well. This is an absolute gift that I wish I could write characters like this. I
Hmm.
mean, you believe these people. You believe the weight, and Rob Reiner shoots it in such a way that, if you stay true to the source material with a Stephen King work, you'll be successful.
Yeah.
And this one is almost word for word from the book.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
there's so many things, and I heard a story too that when they screened it for him, he had to leave for about 10,
Yeah.
15 minutes. He comes back in and says, "This was the best adaptation up until then of one of my stories. You
Yeah.
captured it, so well." And I think a big part of that, if we can get right in this movie, is River
Yes.
Phoenix. Well, River Phoenix is a big part of, I think,
Yeah.
why this works so well, but not just him, but it's the interplay between Wil Wheaton, Corey Feldman, and Jerry O'Connell. I think
Yeah.
there was a lot of stories from the set where Rob Reiner was like, okay, we got one in the can. Let's just not riff, but like let's you know do more of what Jerry's doing over here. And Jerry O'Connell has a story about how he kind of improvised a little moment, and it turned into this big thing. On it was the scene where they're in the junkyard right before they send Gordy for supplies. And so after that, he kind of realized that, oh yeah, there's, I could do this. And I think Rob Reiner kind of was smart enough to think about those things and capture yeah, I want you guys to be like, best buds and just do what you would guys would do normally, and they room together. There's some hijinks. They all hung out and listened to, he gave them a playlist, which is basically the soundtrack to the movie.
Mhm.
And so it was just really important for these people to quit. And you see that it translates so well on film. And River Phoenix, though, I think, was the catalyst for that, because I think he was, if you talk about one of the main or one of the best scenes in the movie, it's him when he's talking about him taking the lunch money. And you would think about,
Yep.
I would always think about like, well, what would, who, and Gordy has a little scene like that as well toward the end. But it's this idea that, I mean, it just seems so real. And at
Hmm.
that time, for me, anyways, like there's this thing of kids and kid actors for me, because they're so close. It's a walk in a really fine line, because if they mess up one thing, it kind of just throws them. I'm out of the movie, and I just I won't rewatch it. Case in point, War of the Worlds from the Tom Cruise one.
Okay.
I hate his kids. Like I mean, I can't watch that movie anymore because of the kids. I just cannot stand
No
the
boy.
kids. And then another sci-fi, which is The Day the Earth Stood Still with Keanu Reeves. The kid in that movie, I'm out. I can't. I love that movie too. I love the look, but the kid in that movie, I'm just like, I'm out. I'm not watching this anymore, because I would. Hey, if you want to side with the aliens, go ahead. Or you want to side with the government, yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. You're out. Bye.
Wow.
See ya.
Yeah.
And the kids in War of the Worlds is this, but so my point being is that for me, I have to see, there's that little thing of like, there's kids who can act like kids, right?
Yeah.
And then there's kids that can kind of act like real people. And you see that with like Macaulay Culkin, great kid
Yeah.
actor, can act like a kid really well. But did he transition to those adult roles? No, not really. But then you have people like, and who was the kid in The Sixth Sense? That kid. Anyways, he didn't really get into adult roles either, but he was more the precocious type of kid where he could kind of act out of his age limit at the time. And so I always put these characters into that latter kind of category, because this was all about kids. And Rob Reiner, to his credit, was just kind of master at directing these kids into how, not even how to act really, but just when to kind of unleash their talent of whatever the script or the dictated. So hats off to Rob Reiner on that one.
Absolutely. It wouldn't, the amount of trust that he puts in the four boys that are essentially in every single scene is the success of how good they are and how much they get these characters and these characters come to life is you have to give so much of the credit to Rob Reiner because I don't know that they knew how heavy this material really is. Wil Wheaton certainly did because in his real life, he was bullied by his parents, as it turns out. He's like, I can't watch this movie.
Yeah,
He is Gordy.
yeah,
Not that his older brother had died, but his parents were really pushing him to be a child act,
yeah,
be the breadwinner of the family at 12, 13. I mean, it's huge pressure. You're making somebody grow up so fast without having gone through the little things like going traipsing off into the woods with their friend and camping out in the backyard like they said they were going to do and like you had mentioned early on like there's I mean your relationship with the opposite sex or who you're going to be attracted to and finding a love romantic love it's right there, it's close, it's really not discussed in this. I mean, even the older kids that maybe they've graduated by now and they're just traipsing around town shooting pool, there's no girls in this group.
yeah,
There's
yeah,
seven of these guys.
yeah.
There's, you know,
Well,
um,
yeah. I mean, and to think that Rob Reiner started as a director or as an actor, sorry.
right? Meathead.
Meathead in All in the Family. Like you said, his first movie was Spinal Tap. And you already have gone through this excellently, but then he goes on to this film, and then Princess Bride, Harry Met Sally, Misery, A Few Good Men.
Mhm.
I mean, just to pull off a run like that too. And I don't know what he's done since. I didn't really look. I didn't really deep dive this movie. I just kind of actually love this movie, want to talk about this movie, but to my
Yeah.
detriment. I didn't look up what he's done lately, but I guess he did a movie called North with Elijah Wood. Rumor has it, LBJ. But like to think of like this is his kind of moment of his heyday, I suppose. What do you think
Hmm.
out of all these movies? What do you think is like his best movie?
Ooh. Well, it's either The Princess Bride or A Few Good Men.
Yeah,
I mean, A
yeah,
Few Good Men, how you direct this, and like you said, he goes from Meathead to directing Tom Cruise, Jack Nicholson. I mean, the all-star cast
yeah,
of A Few Good Men, and it's a play, and bringing a play to the big screen is already difficult enough. There's huge long monologues in
yeah,
this, and the way he shot it with and using the actors that you have. Kevin Pollak was so helpful in that he could play any role, and he really had this versatile guy. I think that Rob Reiner, will find somebody in that work. And for him, I think it was John Cusack in this one, who John Cusack is only seen in flashback scenes. It's
yeah,
kind of the looming, he's the only family member that anybody has in this that actually gives a shit about his other family members, and
yeah,
he's dead.
yeah. And
That
the
sucks.
Yeah. And I think that it affects him so much that when he looks back on all of the, like, or when he's going through all of the hard things or challenging things, whatever, because as a kid, and I've said this many times in other podcasts, it's like, as a kid, you don't have these tools to kind of deal with certain situations, right? You just feel like, oh, this is all happening to me. I'm a bad person.
Yeah.
Blah, 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 blah. There's no, you don't have these tools to kind of call somebody up and commiserate about, oh, look, let's go have a soda pop and talk about, what happened. It's like,
Yeah.
you just don't have this, or at least I didn't have those tools. And so he has to lean on his buddies to kind of always, um, just be a kid, right? And just to stuff it down and keep going. But there comes points when, especially along this walk, I think where they have to, other things that happen in throughout the course of their journey is
Hmm.
forcing them to face all of these things that are happening in their life. With Chris with the lunch money, Gordy with his family, um, Teddy with his dad, and
Oh man.
just these things that are kind of there anyways, but they don't think about them because, as I said, as a kid, you just don't have the facilities to kind of be like, well, what's really going on here, you know.
Yeah.
So it's it's amazing to me that kind of Rob Reiner has taken all of this and just navigated all that stuff so well and so cool.
Well, let me pose this, because I was
Sure.
talking with Jimmy last night, who is about 10 years younger than I am, and we were talking about. He says, "What are you prepping for?" And I said, "We're prepping for Stand By Me." And he goes, "Oh, I've never seen it." And I was like, I just assumed kind of everybody has, and I said, he goes, "But let's talk about your podcast, because I've listened to the show, and I think you guys are." It's I listened to hour and a half of it, or maybe I'll just watch the
Mhm.
Instagram clips. And it's interesting because you guys tell the your story of how the movie impacts you. What if you told it from somebody who'd never seen it before? And we're not really discussing plot, as it turns out. We're hitting on the heavy duty
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah, the
And
themes.
that's,
Yeah.
we didn't map this out. There's no, we just were like,
Yeah.
let's go,
Yeah.
let's talk about it.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
again, and this is the therapy, this is you and I having the Gordy and Chris crying in the woods moment about things like this. They, in 1959, and still with 1986, either era that this movie is being told in, there wasn't a lot of um let's go talk about
Yeah.
tell me how you doing, how are you
Exactly.
doing.
Yeah.
There
Yeah.
it wasn't really a thing that was done. it, I don't, and these guys trust each other and have these conversations. Gordy is Chris tells them on the walk, he's like, "You could be a great writer, Gordy." And Gory's like, right, fuck writing. It's a stupid waste of time. And
Is
he's just all, don't say that, man.
Dude, isn't that a
Don't
great
say
scene?
that.
That's like my favorite scene in the movie because I feel like I had friends that never approached even that level of influence on me, right? Or that closeness. I mean, I had close friends, but we threw rocks at cars, or we would talk about girls, or we
Right.
it just didn't really ever venture that way. I think, and to have that, I think for me that scene touches me because I think everybody needs that, whether it be a
Yeah.
friend or a parent or an aunt or whatever it is, some sort of mentor where they're like, look, you know, you have this talent
Yeah.
and you are talented. And yeah, if your dad doesn't see that, then maybe I should be your dad, and maybe
Hmm.
you need that. And maybe I am going to get on your ass about this and that. And I think I had one person to not even that close, but try to kind of put me on track numerous times. And I would just be like, fuck you. Who are you, man? You don't know me, as a kid would do. And so, I mean, that scene touches me because to show that Chris has that emotional capacity to kind of see that and to kind of guide, not only see it, but to do something as to guide it. It shows that what he's doing as a kid now with these other guys, you see him when he saves Teddy from the train dodge.
Right.
He's the one that's really what he wants in his life. He wants his dad to kind of be like this, and so he's that for others. And dude, it's just a great character, and River Phoenix is just so great in that character. And to see him, when he passed, like, it
Yeah.
just crushed me at the time, even though I didn't want it to affect me in that way. Because again, this happened when I was in, I think, my late teens or something. And find out that he died was like, oh, man, and now,
Right.
even now, I mean, the effect that it has on his brother Joaquin and his family. I think they did a 60 Minutes interview just recently. I would say in the last like 2 or 3 years, maybe. I don't know, maybe even in the last 5 years. And then they talked about him, and you can see it's really still hard on the family. I mean, not hard, but it's the family still feels that effect, as you would. I mean, your child dies, but just to think about his career, and I think about, I'll put this question to you, like,
Yeah.
what do you see, like in the '90s, especially, maybe even just up until now? Like, what do you see him starring in now that would have kind of just shot him into the stratosphere in terms of his star
Oh boy,
power?
that's a great question. I'm just to touch on what you were saying. I didn't really, obviously we heard the news that, he ODs outside the Viper Room in Los Angeles, and the effect that it had on Hollywood
Yeah,
and how people were distraught. Like it affected people so much that I was just like, really? The boy from Stand By Me? And I was like going over the other movies in my head. He was an impactful person on so many, the way he affected so many other people, and it might not be in his resume, but his day-to-day interactions with people and how much he meant to everybody.
yeah,
That
yeah,
was like a star. Like they were rooting for him. Like it just, we'll never know because we don't have that relationship. He was like everybody's best friend, just beloved. And like you said, they're just now talking to Joaquin about it.
yeah,
Joaquin is in his own right an incredible actor,
yeah,
and to be able to do the thing. I mean, you hate him in Gladiator. You're like, you want him to die. I mean, you're like, how good that role is. Her is like, if there's an opposite of the Caesar character, then there's this her. He's having a relationship with his phone or the AI. I mean, I don't want to say that he would, he would do the roles that Joaquin has. I don't know. I honestly don't know, because I don't really think of River Phoenix as an actor. I think of him as this force of nature that made everybody else better.
yeah,
That's why he's so good as Chris, because he's he's this huge cheerleader for Gordy, and Gordy knows he's got a gift for writing. They do the campfire story, and they're like, "Tell us another one of your stories,
Yeah.
Gordy." Like, this
Yeah.
is what he does in this group of friends. He comes up with these stories, and when your buddy's like, you should really pursue that. You're like, stupid waste of
Yeah.
time. It's stupid. He's fighting his success. He
Yeah.
knows, but to have a friend like that, and like you said, you had, how many people like that do you have in your life?
Now, I mean, I would still say it's really I mean, I mean, I'd have to think. I still probably don't have one. I mean, maybe I do and I just don't know it, but at this point, I've been running on solo for such a long time that,
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know. But
Maybe it's that, like, the writer is sitting on the side of the road and thinking back and going, "Holy geez, how important was that person to me?" And that's what this movie did to me this week. And
yeah.
to get a text from my friends from kindergarten, and to be able to, after we get off the air, I'm going to go see these guys that
Yeah.
I have known since I was 4. And like I was saying last night, I'm acknowledging, like, this has reminded me, be gracious and tell people how much you appreciate them, because they might not be here
Right.
forever.
Yeah. Oh, well, look at
It's a lot.
yeah. So look, the film rolls, and these are just a snippet. This is not everything because he did Sneakers too with Robert Redford and Sidney
Oh,
Poitier.
right.
But he did Explorers in '85, which I remember seeing in the theaters, and I love that movie. That's another, like, I watch a lot movie. Joe Dante, Steven Spielberg produced. He does Stand By Me. He does Mosquito Coast in the same
Oh,
year. This
right.
comes out in November of
With
this year.
Harrison Ford.
Yeah, with Harrison Ford
And then he
and
plays Harrison Ford in Indiana
Indiana
Jones
Jones,
and the
yeah,
Last
in
Crusade.
'89. But he does Night in the Life of Jimmy Reardon, which I think was Hollywood trying to push him into that teen heartthrob thing, which he hated. He said he was ashamed. Not, I don't know if he said this, but the stories go that he was really ashamed of this movie because it tried to make him this teen idol, and he didn't want to do that. But he does this movie called
Interesting.
Running on Empty, and he earned a Academy Award nomination for Best Supporting Actor at just 18. So it kind of tells you the trajectory that he was going in, and the idea that, for me in the '90s especially, he was supposed to be Christian Slater's role as the interviewer in
Wow.
Interview with the
Wow.
Vampire. Yeah,
That's insane that I've been thinking Christian Slater for the
yeah,
last like 3 minutes. Like, they are so similar in that. And then you just said his name. Oh my
yeah.
God.
Which Christian Slater took because of his passing, and
Is
which
that right?
he donated his salary to drug programs and stuff like that.
Incredible.
Yeah, and so, I mean, just this idea in the '90s that this guy could have been one of the heavyweights. I feel like when I look back at this movie and I look back at some of these other movies that he's been in, this is, I mean, he could have been one of the greats, and it hurts me to think that. And again, it fuels this thing. Another thing about this movie that fuels this nostalgic kind of reaching out, or my past reaching out to me, where in the past I would be like, no, I don't want to think about any of that stuff. I stopped going to my high school reunions because it just felt like, it reminded me too much of things that I just I was too angry to face, or too angry to kind of enjoy. At that time I was a lot of anger filled me, when I was a kid.
Okay.
So I feel like a lot of those things, I'm in this rehab mode now where I'm trying to be kind to myself and not putting myself in situations where I have to be like, yeah, I like this now. Yeah, kind of
I'd
juxtaposition.
encourage it. I know exactly where you're coming from.
Yeah.
That's totally normal, but I would encourage it.
Yeah. Oh,
You'll,
yeah.
your inner monologue will, like, you have to, I think we feel like people see us in a way that's just not realistic.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you got to kind of shed that off, and you got to constantly have to remind me, I'm not who people are. That's not the way I'm seen, or maybe it is.
Yeah.
There's no way to know.
Yeah.
That's the problem. Being a human being, man. It's a lot of work. It can be a lot of work.
We're all going, there's no handbook, and we're all going through it for our first
Mm-hmm.
time, so it's like
That's right.
I think there's a deeper kind of, what's the word? There's deeper kind of discussion on how to be human and what narratives that we choose to follow and this and that. But that's for another podcast.
It might be there. Let's
So
one of the things they touch on here too is the idea of Chopper,
yeah.
the dog, the scary dog that no one's ever seen. He's the most feared and least
Oh
seen
yeah.
dog. And one of the things that the writer writes is he says, excuse me one second. Chopper was my first lesson in the difference between myth and reality.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's kind of what we're talking
Yeah.
about. It's a lot of like learning. It's this fluffy little pooch. And this has been the legend around town. He was screaming. Now, what he said was Chopper sick 'em. But what I heard was
Chopper,
Chopper
sick
sick
balls.
balls.
Yeah. That's great, man.
It's right from the book. Um, the World War II is a big role, and they're still in this world where it's 15 years after World War II. Teddy has got his father up on this pedestal because he stormed the beach at Normandy. He
Yeah.
says it like 5 times. And the junkyard guy is just all he's a loony, loony, loony.
Yeah.
And Teddy loses his mind. He goes absolutely berserk. I'm gonna rip your head
Yeah.
off and shit out your neck. Um, they are still kind of living in this. We're still on the victory parade 15 years later, where we've got the W, but this is a long time ago now. It's
Yeah.
15 years,
Yeah. Yeah.
and you're starting to see society. I was kind of looking at it like this is 1959. It's almost 1960. What is going on right now? There's no discernible adults in this town. It's these knuckleheads that are like 18, 19. They're driving around, busting everybody's mailbox. They're drinking and driving. They're playing chicken. They probably kill the log truck driver,
Oh yeah.
and just these guys are guys with a death wish.
Yeah.
I think. Your thoughts on that? Were there these guys? Were these were supposed to be the cool guys?
Yeah. I think Kiefer Sutherland nails this role. I think
Yeah,
with any other role, maybe it's the direction, but of Rob Reiner. But I think the time, the '80s, and the time of this movie coming out, you would see a lot of actors kind of overplaying that role. Where I think Kiefer and probably Rob Reiner decided just to keep this grounded because I feel like there's a more of a menace in the kind of understated performance or understated reactions to the things that he reacts to, right? Because you would see a lesser actor, I feel like, would always be like, "Oh yeah," well, and kind of
yeah,
chew up the scene a little more. But I think it's a great choice by Kiefer Sutherland to kind of play this like it's more like a card game or something, or more like chess, where he's just kind of like, okay, all right, and you're gonna get it, and I think that
hmm
there's a little more darkness to that and a little more kind of excuse me there's a little more like I don't know what the word is, but it's this thing that's coming, all right, it's coming, it's not it's not right now, it's not, and so I think it was a great performance by Kiefer Sutherland. I think it's one of his best, I think.
yeah.
But let me put this question to you. I think, why do you think nostalgia for this childhood friendships are so universally powerful? Like, why do you think that this is kind of the thing that drives this movie? Like, why do you think it's so powerful? Nostalgia.
Well, I didn't grow up in a big city.
Yeah.
I grew up in the same town. I mean, they filmed this up in Oregon. It looks exactly like it looks here. It's only 400 miles up. It's those same hills, it's the same trees, it's the river that they're following. We didn't have train tracks, but that's the only thing this is missing. And I can, speaking from my perspective, I would have gone on this hike. I absolutely would have. But I think to answer your question, we've all been there. We've
Yeah.
all been 12.
Yeah. Yeah.
You kind of have to be. If you're
Yeah.
going to be 40, you had to have been 12.
Yeah.
I would
That's
have
a good
liked
way.
to I would have liked to have seen and I was talking with uh, a lot of my female friends about this, and they're just all, "Oh my God, I love this movie.
Yeah.
I love it."
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Okay." And why, may I ask, do you like it? And they're, oh, it's just so good. It's just, that it's, I've showed it to my kids. And I'm like, your kids are like 8 and 10, and this is heavy duty stuff. And again, it's rated R.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that as Gen Xers, as we are, the way that our generation, and you and I not having children of our own, I don't want to speak for everybody, but what I've noticed is that Gordy isn't talking to his parents. They're get away from the parents. Anything to get away from the parents. Who was the greatest generation? They're the boomers, right? The boomers, we grew up with boomer parents and we wanted to get away from our parents. What I've noticed that's different between these generations and where we are now is the kids want to hang out with their parents now. There is a lot of, why would I go hang out with the knuckleheads? My parents are cool.
Yeah.
And it is that, let's, instead of, blocking you out and being this, I think that what I'm seeing, maybe it's, I see this with the people who are raising their kids, the Buckses, the Cromwells, the list goes on, is the kids, Logan and Anna, okay guys, you can go. And they're just like, why would I want to hang out with you? That is so cool. It's such a, so I think that they've broken the mold
Yeah.
on this. And to look at how all these kids want to do is just be out of that house. But kind of it's a thing of the past. And
Yeah.
I'm wondering if today's children that are 12 watch this movie, I wonder what questions they would have. Like,
That's
why aren't,
interesting. That's
like, why are they trying to get the hell out of there?
Yeah.
Like,
Well, that's interesting. I think I think a lot of it is the access of social media. Sounding like an old man here, but it's this reliant. Not even that it's present, but some reliance on it too.
mhm.
I think Scott was talking to me about on ET about how now he has a tracker on his daughter's phone and he's keeping track of where she is, and there's this idea, I think, nowadays that the world is a little more scarier, right? It's you can't hitchhike. Like I think in this movie you see Chris Chambers getting off a truck saying thanks, and the guy's like, yeah, no problem, whatever. And that's what you just did back in those days. I think the last time I hitchhiked was probably 99, maybe
Oh
2000.
wow.
And I remember hitchhiking a little bit as a kid, not really that much. And because in town, you know everybody. So it's not like, hey, can you give me a ride across town? Yeah, sure. Get in. But yeah, it was tapering off in the 80s, I think. And
Yeah.
by the year 2000, nobody was picking up strangers or hitchhikers. And, I think that it was kind of a lost thing. I think, and now I think as parents, I think people our age are a little more healthier in terms of the emotional maturity needed for kids.
The better
And
decision making.
yeah, because I think back in the day, it was just you just did it. And I still see that now, which is this idea that, well, you need to get married and you need to have kids. And it's not even questioned. It's not even a thing that you go, why? You just
Yeah,
do it.
why?
I see kids nowadays rushing serial monogamy, as the new thing where every boy or girl you go out with now is the one. I'm dating to marry and this and that. And it's like,
Oh boy.
some
It's heavy,
I have
heavy
this
duty.
theory. I have this theory now that kids, especially in this, well, I'm not going to name anything, but especially in some parts of the country, I think they get married because they want to get laid, and the only way you can do that is by being married. And so, there it becomes this little thing of like, well, we're going to rework the narrative here a little bit to work in our favor. No, it's we're going to get married because we love each other, but back in the day, it was just something that you did, and especially in this time, it was something that you just did, and you didn't
Yep.
question it, and whether or not you were ready for it, whether or not were whatever, you got married, you had kids, and then you worried about everything else later, and sometimes that doesn't kind of equate to a healthy relationship with your kids or with your wife or husband. So
Yeah.
it was just such a different time back then too. And And, in some ways that, there's some certain groups here that want to go back to that time, and it's just like, Jesus Christ,
I
there's
don't know
no.
that you can put the genie in the back of the bottle.
Yeah, I know,
Vern,
huh?
the at the end of the story, Gordy tells the update. We hear what happens to Chris, but Vern is married with 4 children,
Yeah,
and he is a forklift
right.
driver at the lumber yard.
And,
You can't own a home on a forklift
yeah,
driver's salary with 4 children in 2025.
yeah,
So the world's completely different.
yeah,
And it's great to look at go, let's go back to, I mean, we did Back to the Future. He gets whooshed back to 1955 and the streets are clean and I don't know that it was actually like that. We have it built up in our mind that it was like that. And look how much better it was. And there were trash cans and, people said please and thank you. And the girls wore poodle skirts. And it's like, did they though? Was this
hmm
really a thing or is this what we've told ourselves?
right. Yeah, yeah.
And
I
to
mean,
try to go back and do, like you said, trad wife is one of these things where it's like, I had to look that up. I'm like, what is this traditional?
yeah,
Okay. That
yeah,
again, an old man over
yeah,
here at 52 having to freaking Google tradwife, and I'm all, but why though? What?
yeah. Let's go over some key scenes, man, shall we?
T scenes.
Yeah. I'm just gonna I'll just have a couple here, and then you can chime
Go
in
ahead.
with yours. I'm gonna do the later half. I mean, the intro
Yep.
scene with the kids. What? Anyways, here we go.
Yep.
I would say one of them is the campfire scene in the Barfarama story. One of the great scenes, and it shows kind of like the not the creativity of Gordy, but the actual support from his friends, and
Yes.
to see how his stories affect his friends, where they're captivated by. I got the leech scene when they get the
Oh
leashes.
man, that's trauma right there.
Dude, I would, yeah, that's exactly what it is. A lot of people are like, especially what was it, Teddy or who was the other guy's name? Jerry O'Connell,
Vern.
Vern. Be like, what happened? You know, well, he just had a leech on his balls or whatever it was. Jesus Christ, dude. The train bridge
Oh
sequence.
man.
That's that's cool how they film that too, because I don't know if you know anything about technique, but it's like they use the zoom lens. So,
Yes.
zoom lens, the glass, it compresses everything, right? So you see everything is compressed in the scene because of
Okay.
that zoom lens, right? And so when
Hmm.
when you zoom all the way in, it just all what it does is it compresses that image together. And so that train was really far away from them, you could tell, but it was just incredible to see that in the film. And what do you got for watchable or for some key scenes?
I was impressed that he actually had a train, steam locomotive, on the train at the same time as the kids. I'm like, so he must have filmed these at 2 different times. And then I had to watch the commentary and the director's commentary, and he goes, "Well, it's the train's way back
Yeah,
there, so these kids
train's
weren't in any
huge,
danger."
right?
And I'm like, "But they're not in no danger.
Right. Well, I
They're on
mean,
this
the train was
train."
probably going as fast enough to where it could stop relatively, soon.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, and yeah, so yeah, it's I don't know. It's a great scene. I love that
I
scene.
love that spot because it's up at Bernie Falls.
Mhm.
The train scene is filmed up at Bernie Falls. I've water skied under that
Oh
bridge.
wow.
Yeah. You're not supposed to. It's a no wake zone now, but at the time in the 90s, we would go up to camp at Bernie Falls, and then there's the falls go into this big man-made lake,
Uh,
and the train goes over it, and you can see all the diatomaceous earth on the side, like the white
yeah,
hill in the
yeah,
side. That's just all diatomaceous earth. They mine it up there. It's used for pool filters and wine filtering and all that kind of stuff. That's a little nerdy stuff, but we used to hike through that white, really fine white dust. It's everywhere up there.
nice.
And I've not walked across the bridge, but I've again, when you get to it and then you come around the bend in your ski boat and you see it, you're like, there it is.
Yeah,
Like I'm even at the time in the 90s, I'm a huge Stand By Me fan, and when you check into the camp, it's a state park. So, and they'll be, at the time that movie was only, less than 10 years old, and they're just all, hey, they filmed Stand By Me out here. And that's really because almost everything else is filmed in Oregon, but they went down to Bernie, which is about an hour east of Redding, California, up 299. Cool spot. I don't know if you've ever been to Bernie Falls. I highly recommend it. Everybody, if you have a chance, go visit Bernie Falls, 29-foot waterfall. There there's
Sweet.
waterfall. It goes
Yeah.
all the way to the top.
Can we go
Can
on
we
it?
go?
No.
Nope.
All right. So, hey, do
He-
you have a Klay Thompson award for this movie?
I do. I have a couple of them, and I'm hoping you're gonna like them. Let's just before we get to Clay Thompson, can I just talk about the soundtrack real
Yes.
quick?
Oh, yes.
It's all there's no new music. At one point Rob Reiner thought Michael Jackson could do a cover of Stand By Me,
Mm.
and he screened it for Michael Jackson. And his decision at the end was, why don't we just use
Yeah, yeah, the
the
original.
original, because there's a couple of my all-time favorite songs in this. It's got my favorite Buddy Holly song in
Yeah.
Every Day, which is
One of the
just a
best, yeah.
masterpiece. You've got Lollipop, obviously you've got Stand By Me, and this was, according to Rob Reiner at the time, this had never happened before in movies. Now it seems like it happens a
Mhm.
lot. Is that song did not go to number one when it was originally released, but it did in 1986,
Yeah. That
and that had never happened before.
well, that was the soundtrack was I can't remember if it was basketball or football, but that fall of '86, oh, it was basketball because I wasn't playing football at that time. So at basketball games, it was basketball. It was the soundtrack that we played on the bus. And I remember our coaches being like, you know, but we did it. We sung along to Lollipop and, it was all over the place. I remember, I think it was Stand By. They made a video of Stand By Me and it had
Yeah.
scenes from this movie, I think, in it. I can't remember
Yep.
if that was the case, but yeah, it was
With
just
River
everywhere.
Phoenix and Wil Wheaton
Yeah.
in it.
And it was just everywhere, and that was a great sound. I mean, I still listen to it when it comes up on my, I want to say iPod, but on my iPhone, I'll do a mix. But I think the last time, that was a couple years ago, I heard it. But now you have this Steven Wilson Jr. Have you heard of him?
I have not heard of him.
He is this he's been around a while, but and it's kind of cool to see music artists do this. I've been seeing a lot of them lately. Is that they paid their dues. They've been around for about 5, 6, 7 years. They're just getting the limelight now. And he did this interview, I want to say about a year or two ago, and he covered this song and just blew up on the internet. If you look it up, Steven Wilson Jr.,
Okay.
Stand By Me, and you'll see why. It's a great rendition. He's doing Something in the Way. He covered that song. And he's just great. He played at the NFL draft, the opening of the draft, and he'll slide in like different songs into a song. He was doing the anthem for the NFL draft. He did the anthem, and at the end, while he was kind of fading out, he put in Penny Royalty from Nirvana in the end, and it's just slipped it in. Like you just have to know the song, but it's he's just a great artist. And anyways, I'm off track, but yeah, go ahead and listen. Steven Wilson Jr. But
Okay.
yeah, this soundtrack was the soundtrack of that year. I would say maybe even just the fall of '86. Yeah, it was everywhere.
Okay.
It was everywhere.
It really started almost like I don't know if you want to call it a movement, but the movie Good Morning Vietnam,
Yeah, that was
I
another one.
believe, comes out a couple years after this, and it uses all the period. There's no original music in it. It's playing. He's a radio DJ. For
Right,
those of you who
right.
haven't seen Good Morning Vietnam, and again, all those songs, people go, "My God, I love this one." And
Yeah.
I love this one. This is what my parents used to listen to.
And
And
yeah. And well,
right?
even Full Metal Jacket did the same thing. You know, used a lot of
Yes,
music from the time, and but like to your point, Good Morning Vietnam. We even had the Robin Williams stuff in between some of the songs,
that
the
soundtrack was
intros.
so good because
Oh
it was
yeah,
actually his,
yeah,
like, this is all
yeah,
ad lib stuff
yeah,
that you're just all just say whatever you want,
yeah.
dude.
And so yeah, it was the time for that. It was this kind of, again, it carries on with the theme of the movie, this nostalgic kind of look at music, you know, at that time. So, and it
Hmm.
really, you really feel it too in the movie. It's really embedded into the movie of these little things. They even sing the intro to, what was it? Man, was it?
How
Have Horse
gun will
Will,
travel
yeah,
and reach the card of a
that
man.
one. And
That's
then they
a
talk
theme
about,
song to the
yeah,
TV show.
then they talk about Wagon Train. Do you ever notice that they
Yeah,
just never get anywhere? You know, and they talk about the Mickey Mouse Club. They just talk,
that's
you know,
right.
it's just filled with these kind of things that were the thing in '59. You know, so
These are conversations that Mickey's a dog, or Mickey's a mouse,
Donald the
Pluto's a
Duck.
dog, Donald the duck. What's Goofy?
Yeah,
And they just go around the circle and is like, well, I could only have one food for the rest of my life. What would it be? That's easy. Pez.
cherry
Cherry
flavored
flavored
Pez.
Pez. No doubt about it. And then again, they talk about the Mickey Mouse Club, and then they go back to Vern. Man, that is weird. What the hell is Goofy? It's hysterical because
Well,
then
it's
you're like, what is Goofy?
yeah, it's like what Gordy was saying in the voiceover is like these are the type of conversations you have before girls take over. You know,
That's right.
and yeah, that was such a weird time. Yeah, it just takes me back, dude. Takes me
So they
back.
all take turns with the gun. I was thinking the gun would be my Clay Thompson Award winner because how important the gun is.
Hey, you're zagging. Nice.
Well, hang on, I got another one too. Um, I was thinking maybe Ray Brower
No,
would be. He doesn't say a whole lot.
no,
Sorry, I'm
yeah,
sorry.
too soon.
Um, um, Here we go. Clay Thompson, Vern's comb. What the hell you need a comb for? You don't have any hair.
I brought it for you guys.
I brought yes. Again, he's thinking about his friends. I brought it for you guys. He gets interrupted, but yeah, I brought it for you guys. I think that my Clay Thompson. Boy, it's tough, man, because you can't go wrong. I mean, you want to say John Cusack?
You could say him.
I could.
That's a good one if you did.
Who's yours? Do you have one?
Yeah, mine's Kiefer Sutherland. Now you can argue that
Nice.
he's probably part of the cast, which he is, but I think that whenever he comes onto the screen, he definitely comes across as the leader. He's very dark, you know, especially with the
Yes.
chicken scene or the race scene that turns into a chicken scene. I think the idea, you know, if you guys had $2,000 between you, I'd kill you both. You know, this
Right.
idea that that's what it takes. Now, whether or not he would do it, you know, I think he has enough anger in him and darkness in him because it seemed like he was about to kill Chris at the end with the knife, you know, to the neck. Um,
Yes.
but, you know, Gordy shows up with the gun. And so you kind of think, you know, and then he still has that bravado to be like, well, what are you going to do? You shoot every one of us? And Gordy's like, no, just you.
No ace.
And you see that
Just
change in his
you.
face of like, yeah, okay. All right, we're gonna get you, you know. Do you think they got him? I don't think they did. I think this
So
was
there's 2 points to this. First of all, the Barfarama. It's a revenge story.
yeah,
Lardass is not worried about what happens tomorrow.
right.
Gordy's not worried about what happens tomorrow. All they know is we got here. You're not going to kill my friend with your switchblade.
Yeah.
And he's like, this is real, baby.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is big time, baby. And there's all that's a tomorrow
Yeah.
problem, and we don't know.
Yeah.
I'm assuming they got their ass kicked numerous times after that, but that's not for today.
Yeah, right.
And like Lardass has to move out of that town, right? I mean, he made the whole town throw up on each other. That's a tomorrow problem. I love that part of it where it's just like, I'm doing this and damn the torpedoes.
Right, right, right.
And I'm sure Ace probably, I mean, these are all the older kids, and Chris's brother is there, and Vern's brother is there, and Ace goes up and he's going to murder his friends that are in the group
Eyeball.
who say nothing.
Yeah.
Eyeball is like,
Was that Vern's brother or is that Chris's?
that's Chris's
Okay.
brother. And Eyeball, the older brother, stands there and watches
He's
his
like, hey,
hero
hey. Yeah.
walk up to him with a switchblade and literally put it up to his throat and wasn't going to do anything. He
Right.
watched his friend slit his little brother's throat. Like, what's going on here? Again, the family dynamics in this is, I mean, the only people who care about each other are those four boys.
Yeah. 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 I think yeah, it's pretty dark. I think that Ace is a pretty dark character. And I, there's a little line he says too during that scene, which is, come on, at least you have some good sense like your brother or something like to that effect, which shows you he had a little bit of admiration for his brother, you know. And
Would he have been this cold to Gordy if Denny was still alive?
I don't think so.
I don't think
I
so
don't
either.
think so because that's what and like what I just said is like I feel like that was kind of Denny was kind of this larger than life. I mean, he was in the football team,
Yep, All American.
probably yeah, all American, probably immensely popular in his high school.
He
So
was
I
the prom
think
king.
yeah, so I think that yeah, this and I think Ace is the type of person who uses that death as a means to kind of, what do you call it? Bully this little Gordy, you know.
There is no, you don't have to worry about Denny coming back and going, what gives, guy?
Yeah. He was
Yeah, I
yeah.
agree with that too. I
Yeah.
was just like, I bet they don't, I bet they're completely different if Denny's still around
Yeah.
and in
Yeah.
town. Yeah.
I think that whole town kind of suffers, I think, from the death, but it's not really addressed. That's just a theory that I have, is that it affected, because even he goes into a store, that store, which is Bruno Kirby's father, if you didn't know,
Hmm.
and asks him, "Are you Denny LeChance's kid or brother?" And says, what do you do? It's like, I don't know, you know? So, I mean, it's the way he talks about him too. Oh, man, what a tragedy. I think it affected the whole town. So,
It did. And he tells me, I lost my brother.
yeah, yeah. So,
I lost my brother. I mean, the whole town is mourning,
yeah,
is in mourning.
yeah.
I mean, there's like barely any cars on the road. The only car that's on the road is the one that drops off Chris. Thanks a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, the whole town is just asleep.
The opening scene when he's sitting in the Jeep or whatever that is, the
Hmm.
Wagoneer or whatever that is, and there's two kids right by on their bikes, and then it goes to the point of view of the driver, the Richard Dreyfuss, and you see them biking down that street. It reminds me so much of like out by in your neck of the woods, out by what's that champagne place on the corner there, and you take it goes around the bend,
Corbell.
Corbell. It reminds me of that area for some reason. There's that
Nice.
side street right there, right before you hit Corbell. If you're going out toward to the coast, there's that little side street right before you hit that bend. And every time I looked at it, it's a road that goes right into the trees, and it just reminds me of that scene, and or Monterey, it just reminds me of
Okay.
that area. So
It's essentially the same
yeah,
plot of land.
yeah, it's like it just reminds me of Hillsburg too, growing up.
Yeah.
Like you said, it's a small town, and going out on West Side Road there, it's like it just reminds me of that area. So
Yep. Yep.
all right, well,
One other thing I was gonna
sure,
mention about the way Rob Reiner at the very end, they come back into town
yeah,
and he goes, the town seems smaller.
mm-hmm.
And then rewatch it, and then there's a couple of shots that he does that he shows you. The first time, as the kids are singing "Have Gun Will Travel,"
Right,
you have the profile where you see the mountain, and you see the railroad tracks, and the boys are this big walking by. Okay, then they get to the train scene, and they're still small, but again, it's the same. They're walking across the screen the same way, and they're a little bit bigger. he makes have to believe that he was doing this to show at when they first start out, they're a little tiny, and then they're getting bigger on those side
I
shots.
got to
I'm like,
rewatch it now just for
I'm
that.
like, what? Hang on, dude.
Yeah.
He's physically making them larger throughout. And then at the end, they walk down the main street of town and they're like, look at
Yeah.
this fucking place.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, I think that's
Almost.
what, growing up in a small town like we did, I think when you
Mm,
leave and you have some life experiences, you get some grit on you sharpen some edges, and it's like you go
hmm.
back and it's like, dude, how did I ever grow up here? Like, or live here? I mean, I go back now to Healdsburg, and it's not anything like it was when I was a kid, but I
Looks
still
completely
think,
different.
yeah, I still think like, Jesus, how did I grow up here? Like, I, I think I might have mentioned this before, but I get this claustrophobia when I get into Healdsburg. It's a lot better now, but back when I was in my 30s, maybe 20s, late 20s or 30s, I would go back to Healdsburg or Windsor and just be like, God, get me out of here, because
Stuffy.
yeah, like it
Yeah.
just became like it's like a pair of pants that you just outgrow and you try to put them on and you're like, yeah, this doesn't fit me anymore.
This
And
was my world.
yeah, yeah, exactly. At one time, it was like the biggest city ever, and
You're like,
you
Santa
learn
Rosa
so
was
many
this faraway
things.
land.
Yeah, you learn so many things in this
Yeah.
town, but only so many things. And then you leave and you learn more, and you go here. Maybe you get married, maybe you get divorced, maybe you have a couple girlfriends, maybe you have a kid. You come back, and it's like, man,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
So yeah. Any final thoughts, dude?
Boy, thank you for adding this to your options. I said, "What do you want to do?"
Yeah.
And you said, "Let's do this, this, or this." And as soon as I saw Stand by Me, I went, "Oh, today's we're gonna do it. It's come. The day has come."
I'm so
And
glad.
thank you so much. And
I didn't want you to think too I was pulling some like power move by going, "No, I don't want to do what you did." Like it was just some, I told you before like we were holding off some on another we're going to do this other movie that you just suggested, which is a great one too. I can't wait to do that one. But yeah, it was just yeah. It was like I got to do something where like it was Raiders, and then we did
yeah,
ET. These movies that really affected my youth and watching them. So it's like, yeah, I feel like we do great on those things.
we this was really heady, and it made me feel feels that I needed to feel.
Yeah, yeah,
So thank you. I
yeah.
appreciate it. I really do. This is gonna stick with me for a long time.
Sweet. That's cool, man.
Yeah.
That's a great movie too. That's what movies for me. That's what movies have always been. That thing, kind of that catalyst for me to kind of explore whatever I'm feeling, or maybe a movie shows up like this movie did apparently for us to show up when we need it,
Yeah.
and kind of remember but not stay there, but you kind of visit those past memories and you're like, okay, okay,
Yeah.
well, I
Yeah.
gotta something else is coming up soon and I need to start living before that comes up, so. And
Yeah.
that's my final thought to you about this movie. It's an amazing movie with amazing acting, amazing direction. The shots are amazing. The soundtrack is amazing. And it calls back to our youth, and it calls back to kind of the innocence of youth, the innocence before we start to get into our jobs and our careers and our families and our this and our that. And it just points to a real simpler time. And I think that's why, for me, that's why it's so powerful, is because it does draw us back to a time when we just, all we had to worry about was school
Yeah.
and maybe some extracurricular activities like a football team or whatever, dance, music. So yeah, I agree. Great movie. And with that, I just want to thank everybody who's been watching us on YouTube. Um, and for those listening to us, thank you as well. You can find us on YouTube, or you can listen to us on Spotify, Apple Music, Pandora, any place where you listen to podcasts. We welcome your ears. And again, Toby, thanks for joining me, Tobes. And
You're welcome.
we'll
Thank
see
you.
you next week. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, everybody.